get my 6. So temperatures in my part of the world have gotten above freezing for the first time in about 3 days, which is good because I have some trees I need to plant. But we've already talked about that if you've been following along, so I want to talk to you about something else today. Okay, but to talk about it today, I have to take you back to last night. Keep watching behind me as we walk through the forest a little bit. Let's see if we're followed. So last night, it was bitterly cold, and I was in my office doing office stuff, paperwork, getting into the year numbers, ready for my tax guy, and something that I do at the end of every year that is very important. One of the most important things I do for the upcoming year, and that is to set my goals for the upcoming new year. And while I was doing this, I got an email that a package had been delivered at my gate. Well, I knew what it was. It was a really nice bookshelf I ordered. The thing about constantly reading is that you constantly need new bookshelves. So I didn't worry about anybody stealing it if it sat down there at the gate all night, because we have a lot of wonderful folks that live out the way we live. They don't take what doesn't belong to them, except for hay, I guess. But other than that, but I was concerned that maybe it might rain, it might snow overnight. I didn't want to get moisture in the box, ruin the shelves. So I came outside, and it wasn't late. It was only about 7 p.m. But this time of year, winter, it was it was the first day of winter, first official day of winter, shortest day of the year, very dark. So I came out, I'm walking through my field. I had a flashlight with me, but I like to walk through my own property at night without lights as much as I can, because I like to use my sense of hearing more so than my very limited sense of sight when it's dark and I'm using a flashlight. And so I hear footsteps running toward me. So I turn on my flashlight, I shine, and of course there's the eyes of a deer. The deer stops, but then I hear more footsteps like ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum behind the deer, but there's nothing behind the deer. So I turn the flashlight off. I start walking closer to the gate to get the bookshelves. I hear footsteps going the opposite way. I turn on the light. It's the deer. It runs across the road, jumps over the fence of the next property, and is gone. But then I hear footsteps running back behind me towards the forest that I'm walking through right now. I turn around quickly with the light. As soon as the light shines back here in the forest, I don't see eyes. The sound of running hooves or feet or whatever stop, and that's the end of it. I was able to go down, get the bookshelf, even though it weighed about 80 pounds and probably should have had a 2-man lift. I got it back up to the back porch, at least, with no further incidents. But I did indeed hear footsteps, but I saw no eye shine. I did see a deer. There was something else in that field with that deer that was not a deer, that could not be seen. So anyway, I went back upstairs and I kept working on my goals. And this is what I want to talk to you about today, is we continue to get my 6. See if we're being followed through the potential Bigfoot Sasquatch forest here. You know, the new year's coming up quickly as of the recording of this video, but this is timeless information no matter when you might be watching this video. It's about your goals. Every year I make a list. It's about 8 or 10. I don't have any set number, but it usually falls between 8 or 10. And the goals typically have to do with health, family life, business goals, which is, you know, directly related to personal finance and whatnot. Family, of course. And then, of course, personal interests, like going head-to-head with some of those 60-year-old women and 20-year-old college girls this coming spring and summer in some of these local 5K road races around here. All right, there we go. Let's stay right here and chat for just a second or two. Now, I'm not going to tell you what the goals were. I'm going to tell you what one of them is, because I'm going to challenge you to make this your goal for the upcoming new year. I did this last year, and I think a few people did it, and the proof is in the pudding. You want to talk about proof. The burden of the proof, this proof is the lifting of a very heavy burden, and you're going to understand exactly what I'm talking about here in just a second. But as far as the other goals, like make X amount of dollars, for instance, or, whether or not to publish the next book, whatever, I learned not to share my specific goals specifically with other people until after I've achieved them. And here's why. It's actually recommended that you don't. Here's why. All of us have somebody in our lives who is very supportive, or who are. Maybe it's more than one person. For me, it's my wife and my son. These two people support me despite my shortcomings, despite my insanity. They say, hey, we love you. If that's what you want to do it. We know you can. And sometimes they're right, and sometimes, I achieve these strange goals, or what seems like unreachable goals. But here's the deal. If you go out and you say, just for example, you tell your best good friends, hey, I'm going to make $100,000 this year. Just throwing that number out there, random. Your supportive friends, your supportive family members, many will say to you, you know what? I know you can do that. I'm surprised you haven't yet. Or maybe, well, you do that every year. I know you'll do it again this year. Man, it's in the bag. You've got it. It's a cakewalk. Well, what happens is, psychologically, that makes you feel as if you've already accomplished that goal. You will actually, your brain will send out endorphins that are correlated to having achieved a set goal. And so subconsciously, physiologically, your body and your being already believes you've accomplished that goal, even though you've not yet met that goal. You know what that leads to? That's right, not making that goal. All right, let's walk a little farther. So I would caution you in going around telling everybody what you're going to do. I used to do it. I did it in my youth. I'd get so excited about my goals, and I'd tell everybody about them, and I can look back at times when people say, oh yeah, I know you're going to do it. You got it. You got this. And I'd let up, and I didn't. I barely missed the goal, and I didn't miss that though. Did you guys see that? Okay, now, and quickly I'm going to point out to you the difference between a goal and an idea. Okay, if you don't write it down, it's not a goal. You must write it down. To sit on your butt and say, I'd like to make $100,000 next year. I'm going to make $100,000 next year. That's an idea or a thought. It only becomes a goal once you write it down. Once you write it down, here again, your brain will release endorphins associated with commitment. Okay, so if you have a hard time with commitment, just write stuff down. But if you are goal setting, if you don't write it down, it's not a goal, it's just an idea. What you're basically saying is, that'd be a good idea to make $100,000 next year. You're 90% more likely to actually do it if you write it down, okay? If it is realistic. It's got to be achievable, it's got to be measurable, okay? All of these things in order to be obtainable. But this isn't a lesson on goal setting, okay? I'm going to share with you a specific goal that I set for myself. It was number 10 on my list. And this is another thing, too, about this list. You show me your goal list, and I'll show you what's important to you. Because the most important things in your life will end up at the top of the list, and the things that aren't quite as important will end up on the bottom. That's how it works. And, there's one particular goal that almost every year is always number 1 on top of my list. And a couple of years ago, I had some shortcomings in regard to this particular area in life, and I didn't achieve this goal. And I couldn't understand why, because I had every year for many years before this. I went back and checked my goal list the following December when I was setting the goals for the next year, and I saw that what had been number 1 for many years had dropped to number 6. So it's no coincidence that I fell short in that particular area of my life that year. Now, I know a lot of you are shaking your head saying, this guy's making a lot of sense for a crazy guy. This doesn't make sense. I thought this was Crazy Lake. Why is what he's saying making so much sense? Fear not. You're simply my kind of crazy. And in a crazy world, there ain't nothing wrong with that. I like to define insanity as a sane or normal response to living in a crazy world. Sounds like I'm hearing multiple tree knocks from different directions. Are they golf clapping me with sticks? I'm gonna see if I can sneak up on some of these peekers. Potential peekers. As I continue to talk. Okay, so you ever get the distinct feeling you're being followed through the potential Bigfoot Sasquatch forest? Potentially by Bigfoot Sasquatch? All right, on with it. I'm going to share a goal with you. And guys, you know that I am not political. I am not religious, and I certainly avoid both topics on this channel because this is not the time nor the place. But I do have my own beliefs, and here's one of them, and that's why I set this particular goal every year that I'm going to challenge you to set for yourself. Okay? It's in regards to relationships with other people. And I'm not talking about those we love, such as in my life, my beautiful bride dearly, aka Giggly Girl, my son, and all of you supportive folks who watch this show who are very supportive and cut me some slack for maybe not thinking like the masses. But it's perhaps for the detractors, perhaps for the insulting folks, perhaps for people who downright hate me and who can be mean, maybe do some things that just aren't so nice to me or others or people I care about. People who have wronged me, people who have offended me. Here's what I do for those folks, and this is my challenge to you. I've always believed that, and again, I'm not trying to get all religious or spiritual or just this is just how I see things. Holding a resentment against somebody is like having a container or a vessel filled with poison in it, drinking it and hoping that it kills them. Okay, the resentment, it is a poison, and it's a poison that kills the vessel which holds it, not the person it's directed toward. So, one of my goals I set every year, heading into the new year, as I did last night, just before this strange thing happened out here in the field. And yeah, I guess I'm up here looking for it today. Gee, what's new, huh? I will write down in my list of goals, aside from, growing the YouTube channel by X amount of subscribers or going up a certain percentage in viewership or whatever every month. How many miles to run, how many books to read. My goal is 40 books. I'll tell you that one because I know I'll knock that one out of the park. I always go well over 50. But, I'm not going to share. But the goal I always put on the list every year is I pray for those toward whom throughout maybe the course of the past year I've developed some sort of a resentment. If I've had a falling out with somebody, if somebody new came into my life and kind of rubbed me the wrong way, I stop, I catch myself, and I say, pray for this person. And it's a simple prayer, and I'm not pushing religion. I'm not talking about the Christian God, the Jewish God, the Muslim God, the Buddhist God, nothing. Just, I will just say, you know, please bring this person, this individual, the same health, wealth, and prosperity that I so desire in my life. It's that simple. And once I've done that a few times for the individual or the individuals, I don't even think about them anymore. It's gone. The heavy burden has been lifted. And the proof of that, I was trying to think, well, how do I show proof of that? It's funny, you know, up there when I mentioned about how the folks out here don't take things that don't belong to them, except maybe hay. That guy drove past my house, the annoying neighbor that I had to run off with a crayon. Once upon a time, when I would see him, I would feel angry upon sight. But now when I see him, I feel nothing, because I prayed for him sincerely, hoping that he would experience the same health, wealth, and prosperity that I so desire in my life. And it works. So it works enough to where, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. It's worked for me. Guy harassed me and my family for our first year and a half living here, when all we did was have the audacity to come out into the country and buy about 6 acres for ourselves to live happily ever after going through some crazy stuff in crazy places. So I know that's not all creepy and scary and ooh, boogie boogie, did you hear that, did you see that, or whatever, but I want to ask you to try that. Just try it, you know, and if you don't, rewind and listen with the earbuds in. It looked like it disappeared, and then I heard a scream. But if you're not the praying type, just think about those people. Meditate about them. Sing them a song. On your birthday, think of them when you're blowing out your candles. Because it's really not about them. Remember, it's that vessel full of poison. Stop drinking it. You do this, and you'll feel that heavy burden lifted. The heavy burden will be gone. I've seen it enough times in my life to know. I mean, I've seen the proof. I've experienced the proof that this is a great way to lift that heavy burden. Thanks for tuning back in for another episode with us here on the PBS. The Potential Bigfoot Sasquatch Show.